No way that this could be real, as this creature reached its hand out over my sister's chest and a blue mist came out. I remember just screaming for my mom and my dad.
I lived next to a pretty big military base, and airplanes were always coming and going. However, it suddenly expanded and then shrunk back down to its original size, then zoomed off almost like a shooting star.
14 years ago, my family and I lived in a converted apartment for a mental health facility. At the time, my son was 3 and used to get nightly visitors in his room that would bother him daily.
Welcome, class. I'm your host, Mr. Zach Schleicher. Alongside me, my cohort in all things supernatural, Mr. Joel Jackson, and you are tuned in to Beyond the Bell podcast.
Are you thirsty for more ghost stories, alien encounters, and tales from the other side? Make sure you're part of the Beyond the Bell community.
Class, it's important that you click subscribe on our Facebook channel and join our Facebook group. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. All links to these accounts are provided in the video's description box. Uncover the uncanny and delve deeper into the paranormal with us.
Do you have a spine-tingling tale of the paranormal, or an unexplained event in your school or education field? Maybe an extraterrestrial encounter or a mysterious creature sighting, or perhaps you have a compelling conspiracy theory?
We at Beyond the Bell, we want to hear from you, especially if your story involves teachers, schools, children diagnosed with autism or any type of learning differences or developmental disabilities. Do not let your story remain untold. Reach out to us on our vast social media platforms. The links to these are on our website, beyondthebellpodcast.org, or you can email us directly at joel.jackson@beyondthebellpodcast.org. We cannot wait to hear about your experience.
Finally, join us in shaping the future beyond the bell. This isn't just a podcast, but a family that Zach, myself, and you are part of. Every penny you donate contributes directly to the production of high-quality content for all of us to enjoy. To donate, simply go to beyondthebellpodcast.org and click on donate at the top. You can also find the link to our GoFundMe in this video's description.
Cough, teacher salary. Help us out.
Yeah, help us out.
Welcome, class. I'm your host, Mr. Zach. Alongside me is my cohort in all things dark and strange, Mr. Joel Jackson.
What's up, guys?
And you are tuned in to Beyond the Bell podcast. Buddy, we have a good one today.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm excited for this one.
I'm ready. We have a special guest. Miss Melanie is here to impress us and thrill us. Miss Melanie, how are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for being willing to come on and share your story. It's really enlightening. I think maybe a lot of families that walk the same path will find some really interesting things. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did this all transpire?
Yeah, so back in 2005, I gave birth to my first son. His name is William. And I would say close to about a year old, we started noticing that he wasn't developing typically. And so around the age of 18 months, we started using ECI program here. And they would come out to our home and do speech therapy, and he also had OT, but not an official diagnosis. So around the age of 2.5, he did receive his official diagnosis for autism. And since then, we've been on a very big journey.
Sure. And that journey actually led us to cross paths many moons prior to even working here. I want to say like 15 years ago already.
Yes.
Can you believe that?
Yes.
Ancient.
I know it has definitely been 15 years because he started working at the same location as you when he was 3.
Yeah.
He started school there. So
Yeah, and when he entered my classroom back then, I think he was 6, probably 6 or 7. Adorable, man. Just adorable. One of my favorite memories, though, where he did spook me a little bit once, was we had the small classroom windows, and he would have a shadow come in with him, and he would earn to go with that shadow to earn some time somewhere else. And he came up to the door, and he was just at the height where all you would see were his eyes, and just doe eyes, handsome. So I went up to the door and I was like, hey. And he leans in and he just goes, open the door. And I was like, nope. Nope.
Say hello first.
Yeah. But it was just so funny the way he was like smiles and he was all happy-go-lucky and he just looked down menacing. He goes, open the door. And I was like, no. But yeah, that's always a favorite memory just because it was just so spontaneous, but it added so much humor.
Yes,
so much humor.
I love the spontaneous. So he's a character.
Yeah. So tell us, okay, so you have him in intensive therapy programs.
Yes.
You're kind of walking this hard path. What's that like?
So initially, I mean, like I said, he didn't get an official diagnosis until he's 2.5, which is still fairly young. I mean, that was, 18 years ago, basically.
Right.
So we did catch it early and started early intervention, but there's definitely, and still today, I mean, I think it's pretty cyclical. I think you grieve in a cyclical way where, milestones, things happen. I mean, I can say for, currently, my sister's son is graduating and going off to college, and he's the same age as William. And that's hard because that's not, that's not the route that we're going, and we're going in a different route, and it's still good. And he's made a lot of progress, but I would definitely say it, it definitely hasn't, like the grieving process continues, and you just kind of push forward and you take the good with the bad, and there is a lot of bad. I'm going to be honest. I mean, it's not, it's not easy. It is very difficult, even at his age, because he's bigger, and so
Well, I mean, in just what we experience here at more of a, even though this is a more specialized school, but we still have events like prom.
Correct.
And we don't think about, well, there's a family that actually kind of misses out on prom, date life.
Yes.
All these like kind of milestone checks that we got to experience.
Driving a car.
That
was huge when he turned 16, and we knew he wasn't going to be able to have his driver's license. So that was another, milestone, if you will, that was difficult for us. For sure. Yeah.
What, and I mean, we'll touch more on this as well, but I mean, you've been at it for a while. You said it doesn't get easier, but for those that are just new, you get that kind of gut punch at the age of 2. What advice can you offer those families that are going through that?
I mean, I would definitely say early intervention is key. So getting that diagnosis, I think there are parents who are leery of that in the beginning, or are in denial. But I would say getting that diagnosis definitely helps you. It helps you receive services that you need, and it does help with the grieving process.
So with this diagnosis comes a lot of social difficulties, especially with the diagnosis. So, conversations are lack thereof sometimes, unless they're learned. Is that right?
Yes, and we did a lot of training for that. Yes, we had to learn how to have conversation and do the back and forth and taking turns, and that was difficult at first. But pretty much everything he's learned, he's been trained.
So, Miss Melanie, again, along with this diagnosis came some social difficulties as well. You had to learn some phrases. You had to learn how to communicate, how to interact with society. But that also brings us to a new era, and that's the whole reason why you are here, is to discuss what happened with William. And were they family portraits? Were they inherited paintings, or were they purchased? So walk us through this experience.
Yes, so my parents live in Louisiana, and we would visit them pretty regularly, and they had a room that was close to my parents' room. It was just a guest room, and that's where William would stay. And they had these paintings. I want to say he was around 6 or 7. I don't remember his exact age when this occurred, because it did occur over like a year span. So there were a few paintings on the wall,
I do not know the artist's name. I'm trying to get that. The paintings are now with my cousin, so I'm trying to get a hold of her to see the artist's name. But it was a Texas-based artist who did sketches of, I would say, like an old period, like English girls, little girls with, baskets or flowers or, teddy bears, things like that. But they were based on real people. So it wasn't just like a cartoon character or anything. Like, these were sketches of real girls. And she would name all of the sketches, which I'm assuming were their names. And so on many occasions, we would find William on the bed, because they were above the daybed, and we would find him on the daybed just looking and staring at the pictures. Then he began to start smiling. He would talk, just little phrases, and answer yes/no questions. It was like he was having conversations, or just doing what we thought was great, like make-believe. We were thinking, wow, this is great, where he's conversing and just doing some spontaneous speech, right? So there was one point where it occurred, and he was in the room for about an hour and a half, and I would go through and check on him. It was, sometime between, the afternoon before dinner time. And so he was happy, and so I would check on him, and he would still be in front of the paintings. And like I said, they were two English girls. And so at one point, I walked in and I said, and this was after numerous trips of him doing this, right? So I said, William, who are you talking to? And he said, girls. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'm going to play along. What are their names? And so he said their names, and I thought that was interesting because, first off, the names that he said were names that we don't use. Like, he didn't know any girls that had those names. He didn't go to school with them. He didn't go to church with them. So...
And is it out of the norm for him to make up spontaneous names?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That just doesn't happen. So I thought, I was thinking, wow, this is great. Like, he's making up names and characters, and, I was so excited that he was happy and engaged. So what I ended up doing, because I just kept having this feeling of, that's really odd that he said, can I say the names?
Mm-hmm.
So he said the name Isabella.
Okay.
Which we don't know anyone named Isabella.
It's kind of an old-fashioned name.
Yeah.
It is.
You
It is. And then he said Ashley, which again, we at the time, he, where he was.
Yep.
At that time.
Yep.
And, I don't think he knew anyone named Ashley. So he did. He said these names, and what happened was I decided to take the paintings off the wall, and I turned them around, and the names were on the back of the photo. Now, there's no way he would have taken those frames and turned them around and been able to put them back up on the wall straight and perfectly.
Right.
So there's no way he would have seen those.
Nor at that time, how was his reading?
Oh, I mean, he was able to read some, but it was still very, very low. I mean, at that point, it was very, very simple words, and not, we were still working on CBCs, so consonant, vowel, consonants. So I don't think, I do not believe that he turned them around and looked and then put them back. So those were the names of the girls, and I did some investigation and looked up the artist at the time, and like I said, this was years ago. If I do find the artist, I will let you know. That
Yes.
would be a
Yeah.
different
Mhm.
segment.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I will let you know. But I would say that started kind of the process of my other family members getting involved. So they became afraid, basically, that he was possibly, speaking with these so-called spirits, and they thought that they would turn evil and tell him to do something evil. And so they immediately after that incident, which I thought at the time, I had read about, many children on the spectrum being sensitive to those types of things. And we had a few other things happen, and we can talk about that. But this was a big one, and it really did scare my parents and my sister. So they took them off the wall and gave them to my cousin, and they've been with her for a number of years now.
I wonder if you presented him with these paintings years down the line, if he would remember the names.
Oh, I think so. I mean, he was definitely having conversation, and
being in a different environment.
And it didn't feel evil, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I understand that they were a little concerned.
Sure.
At the time, my son's dad did not believe what was going on. I mean, it was, this didn't happen, this is a coincidence. They always say coincidence, right? But then when it happens more than once, or,
yeah, no,
then it
same.
becomes something like that's very different. So yes, I had his dad didn't believe it, or didn't want to believe it, which is, I mean, a lot of people react that way.
Right.
I believed it.
Did you believe it instantaneously, or was it you kind of saw it progress, and maybe, like, let's just call it what I think it would be, mother's intuition,
right,
knows,
right.
Oh, there's something deeper happening
right
here, because I think out of everyone you have a deeper level of connection with William than the base surrounding. So, Miss Melanie, we've been talking about the painting, socialization. It was almost like, I hate to use the reference, like his Netflix iPad moment where he had an hour of time to laugh and giggle with these paintings while mom had time to go make dinner, but feel joyful that, hey, he's engaged with something, and maybe something that we've been putting him in, maybe it's taking root, right? We kind of wish for that fingers crossed moment that we're finally seeing fruit of all the things that we've been sowing and all the therapy that we've been doing, that it's paying off, because now we're individually doing something on our own, and it's producing something. But it didn't stop there, did it?
No, it didn't. So, like I said, my family members were not happy, and were, I guess the better word is they were scared. And so the paintings were taken off the wall. So the next time we went, they weren't there, which he was sad. I mean, he was a little sad because it was something that he enjoyed. And so, yes, that was a little difficult to explain to him why the paintings were gone.
Sure.
And so nothing after that. I mean, it was pretty much just school days and therapies, and years and years down the road. So about 4 years ago. Okay, so he's around 13 now at the time. 13,
Ooh,
14.
teenage years, man.
Yes. His father's sister has a painting, and it was of a girl, totally different artist, but still sort of Victorian English looking. Like it was definitely similar to the artist of the pictures that were in my parents' house, but it was just one, and it was very large, and he loved it, and he would go to her house in Texas and enjoy that painting. So a couple of years ago, she decided to give him the painting, and I was not present at the time, but his dad was, and his dad gave him the painting, and he asked him, I know you love this painting, what is her name? Basically asked him, like, what's her name? And he told him what he thought her name was, and then his sister verified that was the name of the painting, and that was her. And it wasn't on the back at this point. Like there was no way he would have known the name of this little girl in the painting. So it's happened multiple times now. with and without me. So I know that, because some people would say, oh, it's
Coach,
a mother and it's coach, sure, and
and different environments, right?
Different environments, different times. I mean, it was years down the road, and again, like, he loved this girl in this painting, and so she said, "Here you go. You enjoy it so much." And so he guessed her name correctly, and I don't even want to say guessed because I don't think he was guessing. I think he had
knew
the ability, to connect with this entity or spirit or something through these paintings where he was accurately giving their names. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. And again, just because this isn't something that's going to occur organically, it's interesting that it happened when he was little, and you're like, oh, wow, an hour and a half goes by, we're engaged. Fast forward years later, completely different painting, completely different environment, people, everything else is different. He's dead on accurate.
Dead on accurate.
Again.
I mean, and she verified it, and she's not one to...
How's he with lotto numbers?
I know. I think it's interesting because I've even thought about finding... Because he just really connects with people in paintings.
Yeah.
And I've thought about maybe getting some just to kind of see.
Test the waters.
Yeah, just to see, because he's always enjoyed it. There's never been anything strange that has occurred. I think my sister at some point thought we need to take these off the wall because they're going to tell him to do something.
Right.
Or to,
burn their carpet.
Yeah, or get a knife and do something in the middle of the night. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's slow down there. Like,
did you ever see The Simpsons, Mr. Jackson, where Ralph Wiggum is talking to that leprechaun? But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's fascinating, and again, I understand, like, sometimes other family members, other people are really dismissive of, we have to remove it because it's evil, and
yes,
part of our mission, I think, right, Mr. Jackson, is we've had our own experiences, but we kind of come out unscathed, and some of the experiences, I mean, they live on. They're going to live on in our memories. They're going to live on. We go through life, and every now and then something happens, and it prompts us back to, oh, I've had this happen. And so, just being observant and being the mom that you are, I think, watching out for when he finds a painting that he really likes and gravitates to that painting, it'd be interesting to see what the result is, or if you get more language other than names.
Maybe so. I mean, I think that there's definitely something to that. And just in speaking with you today, I'm thinking I will probably try to find some paintings that I think he connects with.
I think there's a trip to the antique store in the future.
I think there's, you do have to be careful with the antique store. I do know that. I do know antiques you got to be careful with that. But, I mean, there were also times when he would sit on the floor and be talking. And on 2 occasions, I asked him who he was talking to, and he said the name of his grandfather. And his grandfather had passed. And again, I mean, he's little. He has autism. His language is extremely delayed, and yet he's just we're not making up a name. I mean, he knew the name of his grandfather, but just sort of saying, well, that's who I'm talking to. Like, who are you talking to? And he said the name, and I thought, he wouldn't typically do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
The bigger question would be, why would he do that?
Right.
It's not... I mean, again, it's not within the realm of like, oh, that out of all the names that maybe you have already learned and mastered,
right?
That's not going to be the one that's going to go to. It would be more probable for him to name his favorite therapist. Who you're talking to, but
right. And creative play is so difficult for kids on the spectrum.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I mean, they're all different, of course, but typically they are. Creative play is very hard. So. I did find that little piece interesting, and that was before the paintings even occurred. So, yeah.
Wild. What do you got, Mr. Jackson?
That's a great story.
I
really enjoyed it.
Every time I hear it, man, I get the goosebumps because it's we go way back, and I know this. I know him as a young man, and He was a good kid. He was
awesome.
awesome. But just to see him talking to these, or hear, I can visualize it when you're telling it. I can see it,
Yeah.
and I'm just go print off every Victorian photo
I
you
know,
can,
I need to.
and
I
just
need
see,
to, for sure.
just see if
Yeah.
it. If it comes out on an 8x11 paper, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Miss Melanie, at the end of the day, you had these two experiences with William. What do you think it is?
I really think that it is some type of friendly, obviously, because it made him happy, and I didn't and haven't experienced any behavior within him that was negative or
No one's nose started to bleed.
Right. Nothing like that. So, I mean, possibility of it being like a spirit entity that is able to communicate with him on a level that we just aren't. We just don't have that capacity. I
Right.
think there are a lot of special kids that are greatly gifted, and so yes, I do feel like they were able to communicate on a level that he could understand
Yeah.
and he could feel.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's so cool. Well, keep an eye out for us.
I will.
I love it. Thank you for coming on. It's about that time, I think. You want to wrap?
Let's wrap it, man.
Let's do it. So we have
some homework for you guys to do. If this episode gives you goosebumps, then press the like button, comment your thoughts, and share that you're vibes. If you're new, don't be a stranger. Subscribe to Beyond the Bell and step into the unknown with us.
And again, we are still taking your stories. We want the spine tingling. We want the unexplained, the paranormal. If you've had an extraterrestrial encounter or a mysterious cryptid creature sighting, we also want to hear that as well, or conspiracy theory. But here at Beyond the Bell, we're also looking for educators. So our teacher colleagues out there, you're in and day out in some of these older locations, and if something has gone strange in your classroom, we want to hear from you. So again, the links in these descriptions are below at our website. You can contact us at joel.jackson@beyondthebellpodcast.org, or go directly to our website and click the contact tab.
Finally, please help us take Beyond the Bell to new heights. Remember, this show isn't just about Zach or myself, but an entire community of paranormal enthusiasts just like you. Every donation matters to us, as it aids in creating premium quality content efficiently. Visit beyondthebellpodcast.org and click on Donate at the top of the page. The link is also available in the description section of this video.
And remember that all of your proceeds just go to helping us grow in technology devices. We want to start exploring some of these places, right, Mr. Jackson? So
We do.
We need some cameras. We need some better audio equipment to get some evidence for you guys. We're just putting this out there for you all, and entertainment, because we are still teachers at the end of the day. With that, I'm going to go ahead and say class dismissed.